And I think a lot of people believe, like, much too early that they need a team. There's the, if I just had a manager, if I just had a booking agent, if I just had a person to run social media, that's what I need. It's like, well, if you aren't generating any money with this, maybe you need to figure out how to do that yourself for a while. And then hopefully you build something that has value, and it gets to a point where you realize you need help. Like, I got to a point where I was like, I cannot possibly do all of these things myself. And it's not because I'm exhausted. It's not like, oh, I've worked so hard that I can't work anymore. It's like, there are no more hours. Like, I have no more minutes in my day to do any more tasks. And that's when I was like, oh shit, like, it's not about my self-discipline. Like, I am as disciplined as I can be here. There just are no more minutes for me to go out and do all the things that need to get done.
And may the Lord bless and keep her when I'm so far away. God protect all her babies. Let us grow old and gray. And when I'm gone, please recall all the good I saw here. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years.
Yeah.
Oh, we're rolling? Yeah. Ron Pope, my dude, thank you so much for not coming across the river, but for coming down the boulevard to talk to me.
I came around the mountain, as it were. I didn't come around the mountain. I came
hill
down a road. Yeah.
There's a hill over there.
I thought I was going to cut through the park. It was a whole thing. It was a big morning.
Well, here you are, and I'm excited to talk to you, man. And I was telling you before the mics got going that you're sort of emblematic of what the theme of this podcast is, which is like a lifer, somebody who's like deep into their career. They didn't just like get excited about it and then kind of lose interest when they had their first kid. B, you are like a consummate hustler, and now you kind of got a little cottage industry with your wife and the label that you do. So I'm impressed, and not just with the music, but with just the whole thing. You're like you're making it happen for yourself, and I think a lot of people will admire you in the music. But I have something maybe to learn about how you go about doing those things. And what we were talking about artists all over the spectrum of music in this town, and what I started thinking that, like, you occupy a really interesting space because you broke kind of when the music business hadn't imploded and then rebuilt itself. So you've kind of gone through a few iterations of what it meant to be a professional musician. And maybe we could start with there and describe, we don't have to go all the way back to like North Georgia, but maybe we could go back to New York when you were with your first band and you were building a grassroots following there. And also correct me any biographical errors that I'm spewing right now.
I'm just going to commit to them. Whatever errors that you have, I'm like, yes, that's true. I was the band leader on The Tonight Show in the 1980s. Yes.
Well, you had your first big break with A Drop in the Ocean. So you were a solo artist at that point. But that predated like any label signing you had. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I had been in a band always, basically. I had never been I'm going to air quote, I don't know, some people are probably listening to this and not watching, but I was never a solo artist. I was always in a band, and it was like a group of us that were all multi-instrumentalists, and we all were songwriters, and we all sang. It was sort of like The Band or like the Allman Brothers, but with even more people taking turns singing, but a bad version of one of those. I don't want to say I wasn't in the Allman Brothers. I was in a bad college version of that. And, I started to record some of these little acoustic things, some of them in my room, some of them to pitch for other people. There was a guy who won American Idol. His name was Taylor Hicks. And I had a friend who was working on that, and they were like, oh, send it.
Silver Fox.
There
he was
you
like
go.
A young guy with silver hair.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So you remember then. Perfect. And so my friend suggested that we pitch some songs. And I had a big pile of songs that we pitched, and one of them actually was A Drop in the Ocean. And he didn't take that or any of, there's like a bunch of my most popular songs from that early period in my career that we pitched, and they didn't take any of them, it worked out really well for me. But at the time we were like, bummer, we pitched all these great tunes and they didn't want them. And so my friend Christian, he said, that Ocean song, that one's pretty good. Why don't you put that out? And I had been, building an online thing. At the time, there was no pathway to that. There was no clear, okay, if you do this and you do this online, follow these best practices, and then perhaps you can create a career out of it. Like e-commerce, like that wasn't a thing. You didn't do that with music.
But there were bands that were breaking. This is like MySpace days,
yes.
maybe.
So no bands had broken through MySpace before the era that this happened to me, which is a wild thing to have
You were
experienced.
the band.
It was like in the same window of time. It was Colby Calais, like right around the same time as me. And there were a few other things that kind of have come and gone. But this is before really anything else had like popped off from there. It was still like a kind of a fringe. It's like my brother got on MySpace super early. Like my brother was myspace.com/John. Like that's how early my brother got on MySpace. Yeah. And so my brother was he's like an early adopter. He's interested in technological things. And so he and my cousin, they were each using this to meet girls. They were using MySpace as like a dating. This is before there was dating apps for young people. And so they were like, let's see if there's girls in there.
I dated some girls through MySpace.
There you go. My brother was in high school then. He was like, let's see if there's girls in the neighborhood that are on here. And that's not what his voice sounds like. I'm sorry, John.
It was insulting parody.
I'm sorry. And so anyway, my brother and my cousin were utilizing this to meet girls. And they were like, oh, there's bands on here, man. You should put your music on here. And so I started to build this small, little, bubbling grassroots thing while I was in a band. I was, playing out. I was going on the road and playing in roadhouses. And,
this is like 04, 05?
Yeah, like 03, 04, somewhere in there, I guess. And then we get to 07, A Drop in the Ocean comes out, and it just starts, that and a handful of other songs start really going super well on this solo MySpace that I've made, one with my own name on it. And so from there,
and it was like you could only play it on your page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the reason that this worked, I think it's twofold. One, it's because I had like built this devoted grassroots following of people who were already stoked, a small group of people. And then those people took this handful of songs that they were really reacting to, and they went bananas. They shared it with everyone. So that's part one. But part two is that I have a friend, and his name is Jake Smith. We're going to shout out a lot of people on this podcast today. My friend Jake Smith was an early intern at TuneCore, the digital distribution service. And he was like, hey, the songs, it's going really well. Do you want to take your music and put it on iTunes, and then you can sell it? And we were really worried about how we were going to make money from this. Like I was living hand to mouth. I was playing music in the subway. I was working as a security guard, and I worked in a jeans store, and I was like a bad waiter. I did a lot of jobs very poorly in a half-hearted attempt.
So well. Yeah.
In a half-hearted attempt to make enough money to pay, whatever, $400 or $500 a month rent, whatever I was paying. And so my friend Jake was like, oh, we can put your music on iTunes. And that really changed the direction of my life, basically. Because before that, my band had been in front of lots of label people. It was New York City. The band was good. People came to see it. But they were like, I don't know. What about this? No to this, no to that. But it became undeniable. We started selling tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of digital tracks, and then millions of digital tracks. And so it was like, all of a sudden, you sell a digital track for $1, they give you 70 cents of that money when that was happening. We sold it.
It's crazy to think about now.
And when we sold an album for $10, they gave us $7. It was bananas. It was out of hand.
So iTunes retailed an album for $10. They gave TuneCore $7.
All of it. Yes. They gave you $7. And then TuneCore gave you all $7 of it. They didn't take any. You paid a yearly fee.
So you pay the $50 and they gave you everything.
That's right.
Hell of a model, fella at TuneCore that invented that now, I'm sure, largely abandoned business model.
That's most of what they do there. That's still what they do.
I have an album that's released through TuneCore for $50.
Yeah.
But I guess, they don't pay. Well, amazing. What a great thing for musicians.
It was neat. It was really
super neat.
At the time. And so at that point, it became undeniable because art is subjective, but numbers are objective. So it didn't really we were talking about this before. It's like, it didn't really matter if people at labels or people in the industry, if they liked it or not, if the press reviewed it positively or negatively, none of that mattered because people were consuming it at such a unbelievable, staggering scale that it was real. It didn't matter what anybody on the outside said about it. Like within the community of people that were consuming my music, it was very, very real. And it was happening like at such a unbelievable scale that no one could tell me a goddamn thing.
I'm sure.
Like, I was like, okay.
Sure you were inseparable.
Well, my friends and I, we had been working at this for such a long time. Yeah. It wasn't like this was the first stuff I had recorded. I had been writing songs for years. I've been making records for years, playing out with my band for years. And so I knew that it was good. We just had trouble getting attention from the industry. And at that point, that's what you needed. You needed industry. Like in 2005, if you wanted to try to make a career, you needed a bunch of help. I always assumed that at some point, it's like we were going to make a demo or play a showcase or something, and then someone was going to see us or hear the thing, and then they would come and they would help us. I assumed that was how we were going to get to the place where
that's because that's how it worked before.
Yeah. And then so for us, all of a sudden it was like, well, there's people all over the world consuming this. How do we turn it into money? And then right in that moment, I had a friend who happened to be working at TuneCore, and he was like, I know how you can turn this into money. And so it was an incredible way to start the thing, because from there, we didn't need permission anymore. Nobody had to tell us we could do it, because we were making the money that I could make the records the way I wanted to make. We could promote them however we could and learn the business on our own. And so that's really how we started being in the music business.
Tell me about this. Like, so you had great sales on iTunes. So obviously the industry is going to come to you because they're like, here's an undeniable demand for this music. Did you want to go on the road like constantly at that point? And was it easy to get a booking agent? Was there a bunch of people pitching themselves? I'm just like, how did you put together the team that you still kind of need? I think at this point, like, you're calling the shots, I would think. So, but there was still a team in some sense.
In the beginning, there was no team.
Yeah.
Like at that point, it was me and my friends making this music. I didn't have a manager at this particular juncture. So the part of the business that we were in, I guess, or the way that we were doing business was 45 days after the end of each month, TuneCore would send me the money from that month. So like whatever January's money would come March 15th, and I would deposit it into my checking account. And then I would use my debit card because like my credit was trashed because I've been living in New York, trying to survive. And so we would make recordings with that money. We would do whatever, but there was no intervention. There were no grown-ups in the room at that point. There was no agent. I had been booking myself for a long time. And so I mostly was playing in New York. I was like, I don't want to go on tour right now. This is working. Let's do this for now. And let's figure out, like, I knew what it was like to go on the road and play for nobody and have nothing happening. So I was like, well, let's figure out how we can make people excited about this.
I mean, did you not have people reaching out to you, like wanting to be on the team, like agents, booking agents?
Yeah, but I'd had enough negative experiences already with the music business that I was sort of like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't. No, I'm not trying to.
Reference.
I'm not trying to play in the cafeteria of your college. No, thank you. But honestly, there's lots of people that were like, oh, I have an idea for you. I'm like, where the fuck were you last year with an idea for me? Like when I was waiting tables at a diner and I had to pay my rent in mostly change that I had made playing on the subway platform. Like, where were you then? I was just the same level of good. Maybe I've gotten a little better in the last 8 months or whatever it is, but I didn't become a different musician. You're just looking at what I have and you want some of it. And so in the beginning, when it started working, I was really, what was I? I was abrasive. I was aggressive. I was easily aggravated by these people. So it's like, I don't know, like people talk about like when they lose a lot of weight and then all of a sudden people start hitting on them and they're like, the hell? Like, what's going on? It sort of felt like that. I was like, I'm the same person that I was before. How dare you show up now? I needed you before. I needed help before. And now, like, what do I need from you? And so for a few years, we really kept it super tight. It was really me and my friends. And if we had a question, we'd read like a textbook. One of my friends was in the middle of going to school to study like music business. So we'd like read books about it. And, but mostly we said no. We said no to a lot of things. And we tried to figure out how do I turn like this business that someone is trying to sell me the idea of, how do I integrate that into what I'm doing myself? Because a lot of times I think in music, you meet people and they have a job and you're like, okay, I don't know how to do that, but I could certainly learn to do it. Like if I came and was an intern at that company and then I became your assistant, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, like I could do what you're doing. It's not like, I don't know, like
it's not trig.
It's not brain surgery. Yeah. It's not like, like you got to have steady hands and you got to have 20 years of education and you have to be, incredibly bright and you have to have good eyesight and stuff. I don't know, like there's a lot of things you need. It's like being a fighter pilot or something. Like they're very exceptional. It's like, and not to say that there aren't brilliant people working in the music industry. I've just never encountered anybody doing any job in music where I was like, oh, I don't know if we could figure out how to do that. Like, and so in the beginning, because no one had ever come to help us, it just felt like, why would we accept this help right now when we just started to get a little something? Like, why don't we hold on to it and, see what happens? And so I stayed off the road mostly for quite a while. In the beginning, because I had been out there and I knew that it was really hard. So I didn't want to go until I was certain that we had real demand and that people would actually come.
You have this momentum. You have some income coming in. Amazing. You're holding the cards close to your chest. You're saying, I want to run the show myself. Was there a point? Okay, so reading your bio, you did sign with a label at some point.
So
what made you want to do that? And why did you leave?
So we were talking before about people breaking on the internet, and Colby Calais and I it was started to happen like right around the same time. And so when her thing popped off, she went and signed with a particular major label. And so I watched what they were doing with her, and they took this person who had an internet following and excitement surrounding her on the internet. And then they went and they broke a single at radio and they were really doing the thing. So I was like, oh, I don't know. All these labels are trying to sign me. That one seems like they know what to do with someone who just broke on the internet. So I went there because she had gone there. And honestly, they just didn't do anything for me. They didn't help me. They didn't actually add any value. They didn't try to help. And so I think that's a thing that you don't know when you're a kid and you're coming up, like, especially in the era that I grew up in. It's like, I knew that I wanted to be signed to a major label where all the artists that I admired were, but I didn't know that you could get signed to a major label and they could not care about your project and not want to help you. And mine was an interesting case because it was making so much money. And so I was essentially, I gave them my money for, the whatever year or so that I was signed there. It was money that belonged to me that they weren't doing anything to help me generate. And I let them take it for a whole year. And it was the dumbest thing. But a lot of what I have done in the music business is like, I'll make a mistake, I'll make an unforced error, and then I'll learn not to do that, and I'll tell other people not to do it. So it was one of those where like, was it a bummer to go sign with a major label and have them, take a bunch of my money and not help me in any way? Yes. But I learned that you need to be certain that if you're going to partner with people, they understand your vision and you understand theirs, and everything is aligned, and that you can work together to create something meaningful. Because having a stamp on your ass that says property of such and such a major label doesn't mean anything anymore. It's the effort, the money, the time.
It's not a validation not the validation it used to be.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if they don't do anything. Like it's a trap if they don't help you. And not to say, like, there are lots of people, they sign with a major label and they break them. Everyone that plays in a football stadium has worked with a major label to get into that football stadium.
Well, and think about like the Colby Calais, she had massive success with that song. It was the song of the summer. So you, in your defense, had I been you, I might have made the same decision because you saw the evidence. You're like, okay, I guess that could happen for me. Why wouldn't it? We came up the same way. So, but that's also the thing too, is just because it happened for artist X, music is weird, and you can't predict. You can predict some things, but not a lot of things.
When you can't predict the intentions of a room full of people either, because if I had gone there and they spent a bunch of money breaking the song at radio, my story would be very different. My experience would have been fundamentally different. My access at that time would have been different, and probably the journey forever after would have been altered by that moment. Because part of what makes my thing still work, is that some of these early songs that people have loved so much over the years, they're not ubiquitous. Like even A Drop in the Ocean, which is very popular, new people find it every year. And if I had had a gigantic radio smash with it, I don't know if that would be the case. Like it would feel old.
It would have run its course.
Yeah, Rihanna's Umbrella was a big hit in that time, and probably new people aren't hearing that every day because like most people heard it. It was a colossal smash. And so in a way, that has been, it certainly has been a positive element of my journey, that since they didn't do anything and they didn't make the song ubiquitous, I was able to continue growing gradually over time.
It seems like there are, I've encountered a few different kinds of artists in my time. And there's a kind of artist that is just an artist. And they, maybe on purpose, they like don't know how to run a Pro Tools session, or they just are like, I write these songs and I need help. I need people to help me. And sometimes people do. Sometimes you might get really lucky and get a very talented manager who's hyper loyal to you, who's also very effective on the other side of the negotiating table. But most, and I think this was a much more common thing in the aughts and prior. But since then, and for most people, I think that the more tools that you have, business tools, I'll say business, but more than that, just the ability to kind of be organized, to answer an email yourself, to just like take charge of your own career, the better it's going to serve you in the long run. And I feel like you really represent that. And I'm asking you to comment on that. But do you think that part of that experience in the aughts, when you were just coming up and you were like, I feel like you have no shortage of ambition and hustle, served you through those times when, like, post the label situation dissolving, that might have broken some artists who just like hadn't had all that experience before that. It has broken some artists. You can see people that have peaked in the teens or whatever because they had a huge label hit and you've never heard of them since. Do you think that it serves you well to develop all of those skills along the way early on?
I have a sort of superpower that people don't talk about all the time. My wife is an incredibly capable business person, and so I get to look like this and make up rhymes, and she runs this business like a grown-up. A lot of people are in the music business and they're like, they're here to be cool and they're here because it's fun, and they want to be backstage holding a beer saying, I'm this person's manager. And while she is cool and she is backstage and she may very well be holding a beer and she is someone's manager, she's here because it's her job and she's serious about it. And so as she came to work in this business and it became our family business in 2009 or 10, I guess she started doing it a little bit at a time. And then by 2011, we realized we were very serious about this and we were going to do it together. And by 2012, she had left a corporate job to come and manage me full time and then expand into all the other things that she does in the music business, managing other people, running a label. And so, sure, some of this is that, like, I can answer an email and I wake up in the morning and I do, all the kind of grown up stuff because this is my job and it's important to me. But really, most of the work she does, and I'm like behind her, like, you can do it. I don't know. I'm very lucky in that I happen to find a partner who I am very excited to be in business with. Like, she really gets it and our goals are aligned and she is very supportive of what I am doing creatively, while also being a thoughtful business person who's trying to figure out how we access the most people with the art that I want to make. And so I give her like almost all of the credit for this. I feel like
I just realized I had the wrong person on the podcast.
It's like people always want to be like, how did you do this yourself? And I was like, well, funny story. There's this lady and usually she's right here and she's really smart and capable. And so and the other people who Blair manages, this is Blair Clark is her name. Blair's my wife and my manager, Miko Marks and Emily Scott Robinson, the people that she is managed by, they would say the same things about her. It's not like just because she's my wife, she's just like a badass, disciplined, hardworking, real pro. And I think the music industry is really populated by some percentage of people who don't think it's work and they don't understand that like you have to show up and work hard every day in order to accomplish things. And since she is a hardworking and disciplined person, it really has lifted up my career into a place that I couldn't have imagined. Like there's no way that I would be able to run all of the stuff that's happening myself. Like it's just not realistic. So she's it. She's the magic trick. She's my superpower.
Everybody creative, no matter what, has to have somebody on the team that is business minded. And that is a hard lesson for a lot of young, talented people to learn. Even the person I just described, which is maybe you before Blair, who is driven and can do a bunch of things and is willing to learn things they don't understand, all this stuff. The fact of the matter is there's only so many hours in the day, and it is a specialist's game, even if that means that my specialty is art and writing songs. Well, if that is your specialty ain't going to be thinking about what the business is going to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What are the goals, short, medium term, and long term, and how to achieve those goals?
And it's an incredible luxury to be able to bring in specialists. Like over the years, you were asking about agents. Well, now I have an American agent, and I have an outside of American agent. I have a Canadian agent. I have people who it's their job to book the shows in different places. It's like, I don't ask the Canadian agent to book me a show in Berlin. That's not his job.
Yeah.
He's not a specialist in that area. But in the beginning, you have to be willing to not be a specialist, to be a journeyman, to be a generalist, to try at everything, because you can't expect a bunch of professionals to come and work with you if you can't generate money. And so when you're starting and you're not generating money, you need to figure out how to do as much of this as you can on your own. And in the beginning, I was definitely doing everything basically myself or with the help of my friends, that had varying skills. Like I wasn't engineering the records. Let's say Zach Berkman, who's my often co-writer, my best friend, Zach was engineering the records. So I don't know, like I think learning though how to do as many things as possible to continue, pushing the ball forward. In the beginning, you have no choice but to do that. And I think a lot of people believe like much too early that they need a team. There's the, if I just had a manager, if I just had a booking agent, if I just had a person to run social media, that's what I need. It's like, well, if you aren't generating any money with this, maybe you need to figure out how to do that yourself for a while. And then hopefully you build something that has value and it gets to a point where you realize you need help. Like I got to a point where I was like, I cannot possibly do all of these things myself. And it's not because I'm exhausted. It's not like, oh, I've worked so hard that I can't work anymore. It's like, there are no more hours. Like I have no more minutes in my day to do any more tasks. And that's when I was like, oh shit. Like it's not about my self-discipline. Like I am as disciplined as I can be here. There just are no more minutes for me to go out and do all the things that need to get done. And so I think that's a hard thing to judge, certainly when you're coming up, but I would hold on to as much as you can for as long as you can so that you are acquainted with all the parts of your business too. Like, so that you understand what it means to work a social media campaign, like to not trust that someone else understands the identity of the thing that you're creating so well that they can take it into the world and sell it, but you can't. Like that feels ridiculous on some level to me. And my thing started with a real grassroots movement, and that had to do with my connection with the people that were consuming the music. I was directly interacting with them. I was making the stuff. I was sharing the stuff. I was talking about it with them one-to-one. And that's how we built this wildly devoted global audience. It's because people could feel me in the thing, and they still do, whether I'm talking about the new music or going on the road or the New York Mets, that's a part of my life, or I'm talking about being a dad or my relationships with my friends or whatever.
Just lost Alfonso. Did you just see that?
Alonso.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Totally. And yes, I did.
That's how little of a fan of the Mets I am.
That's, it's, I don't want to talk about it.
No, well, this is fascinating, and I love business talk, sort of, but I do love knowing how the sausage is made talk. But maybe we could play a song here live in the studio if you brought your guitar.
No.
Well, moving right along.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Do you want to set the table on this song?
So this song is called The Life in Your Years. And I wrote this when I was on the road and I was missing my family. And it's funny, I'm not religious, but over the years I've written a lot of these things that sort of feel like prayers for my people. And this one I pointed at my daughter and my mother and my wife. And it's just a little prayer I wrote for them as I was far away and missing them all. And you know, I think sometimes it's easy to get down when you're on the road, but I'm so appreciative of the fact that I do get to play music as my job. Like, this was my dream, and now I am living that dream. But sometimes I just want to be at home with my family. And so that's all mixed up in there. That's in the gumbo. So
let's hear it.
1, 2, 3. When my shift's finally done, bring me home to my people. Wrap me up in their love like a blanket crocheted by some hands passed away. I'm still praying their names, no matter how far I've strayed. And may the Lord bless and keep you when I'm so far away. God, protect all the babies, let them grow old and gray. And when I'm gone, please recall all the good I saw here. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. Some neon and glass, but I'll end up on my ass if I go back to that. If you're passing through town, stopping by my mama's house, tell her I'm safe and sound, head 6 feet above ground. And may the Lord bless and keep her when I'm so far away. God, protect all her babies, let us grow old and gray. And when I'm gone, please recall all the good I saw here. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. May the Lord bless and keep you when I'm so far away. God, protect all our babies, let them grow old and gray. And when I'm gone, please recall all the good I saw here. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. It's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years.
Man, that was fantastic. And thanks for letting me sit in and, play a few wrong notes to let people know it was real.
It's live theater, baby.
So there was something you said in our email exchanges that I was thinking about, which, by the way, thank you for watching the pilot or saying that you did. And
I watched it. I
nice.
did.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
but you were like, the music business is so embarrassing, was what you said in the email. And I, know that as well as anybody. But I thought that was a uniquely phrased thing to say. And I wonder if you had something to add to that or elaborate on that idea of the music just being embarrassing.
I have been making a living doing this for 17 years, something like that, 17, 18 years. And still, I feel at times like a desperate, thirsty teenager like begging people to look at me and pay attention. Like, oh, I had this neat idea. What do you guys think about this? Mm-hmm. And then I put it out into the world and I'm like, oh, you guys like it? You don't like it? Like that's the job. You make this stuff because there's art inside of you and it means something to you to create things. But then you have to do this dance where you go out and you're like, people, do you want to write about this? Like, do you want to come buy tickets to the show? Is the algorithm, I don't know why I'm doing that voice, but is the algorithm going to reward me? And all of that. Like, I didn't learn to do this to interact with a computer and to try to figure out how to trick a website or a social media platform or something into creating value for me. Like that didn't exist when I was learning to make music. And so all of it can be embarrassing. Sometimes you show up and you're on a great tour and you're killing it and the band is great and everything is working. And then you get to a town where for whatever reason, the promoter didn't do their job, and now you have to play for 10% of the amount of people that are coming to all the other shows on the tour. So even on a great tour, there might be a night where you're like, oh, I got to go out there and do this. Oh my God. Yeah. And so it all can be embarrassing. Every part of it. I stand in front of a microphone and I sing these lyrics and it's like, I don't know, is this poetic or am I a nerd? Like, is it, I don't know. You don't know. It's like, and it's my job. And so I also am like a salesperson. I think it's good. Like having grown up poor, I think everybody should be poor for a while. It does give you some really nice perspective. It's like, this is hard, I guess. It's like I work very hard at it. So it is hard, but it's not as hard as doing things that I don't want to do. Like I want to be a musician. I love to be a musician, even though there's a lot of bullshit baked into the job that I don't want to do. But the part that I care about doing, I love so much that I'm willing to do a lot of bullshit. And I think that's an interesting part about the business right now is you can be great. Like you can be an incredibly talented person, but your threshold for how much bullshit you're willing to participate in and how much bullshit you're willing to like learn to manage, that dictates to some degree how far your music can go commercially. Like it doesn't matter if you don't like TikTok. Like you can say I'm 42 years old. I'm somebody's dad. I don't like TikTok. I don't want to be on TikTok, but it's part of my job. So I am trying to figure out how do I take the art that I make and share it with people within that context in a way that feels honest and authentic, like expresses who I am and is entertaining to them, because I'm not going to change the fact that people live within that platform. So I need to go there and attempt to interact with them where they are. Like I need to reach to them where they are living currently, because I'm not going to convince them to listen to my music through some outside, like I'm not going to trick them some other way. Like I got to use the platforms that exist that are available to me in this time.
And yet you just released a Christmas album on vinyl only.
Well, that's for people who already like my music. We did a limited pressing of that. And when we get to the end of that and we sell them all, we will have made money on it. And so that's for people who I've already reached and they like my music and they want something that feels special. And it isn't just out there in, the streaming platforms. It's something that you have to choose. You choose it, you buy it, you take it home. And so I think sometimes with vinyl, like a lot of people will buy vinyl that don't have record players. It's just like a marker of, I love this band or I love this artist. So you take home a big piece of art that feels important. Like obviously the artist cares about this because they made this big fragile thing and they're carrying them all over the world and they're selling them. And so I think a lot of people will take them home.
I buy vinyl at every live show I go to.
But I bet you have a record player.
I do, but I never use it. I really want to.
We listen to Waxahachie, Tiger's Blood so much that now like my daughter kind of sings like Bob Dylan because she's singing like Katie. I'm like, this is so funny. This is such an interesting thing that we have done to my child. Just like expose her to all of these like cool singer-songwriters. And so she's listening to Taylor Swift and Pink Pony Club and stuff like all the other kids are, but she's like, we've exposed her to enough of these singer-songwriters that now I'm like, you're kind of doing this interesting stylized thing with your voice now. I'm not saying this to her because she's a child and she can sing any way she wants, but it's really cute. I was like, oh, that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Like, this is what I'm hearing you say right now, is that on some level, no matter how lucky you are to live the dream, on some level, it's still a job. And it's critical to make peace with that, regardless of where you're at in your career. Otherwise, there will be no career. I guess maybe we're still in the category of advice to the youngsters out there. But go ahead.
I write so many songs every year, like such a ridiculous, stupid amount of songs that I don't keep count most years, because I'm writing with other artists for their projects, and I'm writing with the artists that I'm producing, and I'm writing for my own project. And my process is such that it often takes me, maybe I'll end up with 1 out of 7, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12, 1 out of 15, where I'm like, oh, that's a keeper. That's for my next record. And so I'm just always writing songs. Every week I am writing multiple songs. And maybe there is gaps where I don't write any songs, but then other weeks I write 10 songs. Like I am writing songs, and I am playing guitar, because those are the things that are the central parts of my trade. Like I think of myself first and foremost as a guitar player, and then next as a songwriter. So I am always practicing guitar, and I am always strengthening the muscle as a songwriter. Those are things that are non-negotiable for me. I don't put those down, because they're the things that keep me sane as a creative person. They're the things that I want to be doing. And in the same breath, all this other stuff that you have to do to promote my ability to do that as my job, I never put that stuff down. Like, I don't want to do that, but it's a job. It is. And for me, like, I would make the music for free. If I was working in a bank at night, I would come home and I would be playing guitar and playing piano and writing songs and singing, because I love to. It's in there. It's not just that I do it because it's the way that I make a living. I also do it because it means so much to me, and I couldn't help it if I tried. Like, I couldn't quit if you tried to make me. I don't know that I could, because I love it so much and it's such an important part of me. And a lot of the business part, like, I would love to delete all the social media apps from my phone and never look at them ever again. I don't look at them for fun. I'm not like stoked to be going through TikTok or Instagram, interacting with things, but it's part of my job. And so I make it a part of my life, and I do it in earnest, because what I'm trying to do is continue to reach people. Like, I'm a long ways into this career. I made the first record that I recorded with the District. We started 22 years ago. This month, actually, 22 years ago, and over Christmas break, we started it. And it was fun. It was fun to do that 22 years ago. And when we made my most recent record, it was still fun. I love to make records, and I love to play shows. I love to get on stage with my friends and sing with the audience. Like, I get to play guitar. Like, the word play is in it. I don't say like I work guitar. I play guitar. It's fun. It feels good. It's something I do for joy. So I'm always trying to balance that thing where it's like, I love to make music. Art is important to me, and I really want to do that. And so I make time for that so I can keep pursuing it, and I can keep attempting to improve over time. And then all the rest of the bullshit that you have to do to promote it, I also pursue in earnest, because you have to. And to be fair, you don't have to. And if you don't want to, it's okay. We all have a threshold for how much of the bullshit that we're willing to do, and how much of the music industry are we willing to interact with, and how much social media stuff we're willing to do, and how much time we're willing to spend creating stuff to share with people on the internet and all that. So it's okay to say, I don't want to do any more of this. But I think you have to understand, if you want to promote art, it's going to take a bunch of effort with this other stuff too. And I'm willing to do both, because I want to get to make art, and because this is my job.
Yeah.
This is my job, and it has been my job my whole adult life, like since I was in my early 20s and my music started happening. And I'm not going to go back to being poor. I've been poor and I've been unpoor, and being unpoor has been way better for me. I like it much more. So I'm going to stay over here as long as I can. Like, if I go broke, it's going to be by accident. It's not going to be because I gave up. Like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying, because I also love the music, and I want to share it with people. I want people to connect with this music, because like, music meant so much to me when I was growing up, and I connected with this music, and it made me feel less alone in the world. So I want to make music that connects with other people so they feel less alone in the world. It's like a way I connect with people, I couldn't possibly lay hands on every one of these people that I'm singing to on these records. And so it's a way that I can go out in the world and be a part of these people's lives. And that feels like magic. I don't know.
I read somewhere that you started out as an athlete and there was an injury, and whether this is like apocryphal or not, this is kind of what's got you going in the musical direction. From this side of the table, it does seem that like you bring an athlete's determination to your career. Is that fair to say? Did you inherit some of those competitive attributes from your early interest in competitive sports to this game of the music business?
I was actually just talking with my daughter about this. She's 7, but she was asking questions about college and meal plans today, weirdly. And so we were actually just talking about college. And so when I was at college, baseball was like my job. You know, you have to wake up at a certain time because there's training in the morning, and then you go to a 8:30 class, let's say, and you can have an 8:30 class, and then the next session you have to be done by like noon or 12:30 because you have practice at 1 o'clock. And then maybe you can take night classes in the fall too. And that's it. Like that's all you can do outside of playing. It's like those 2 periods in the morning and then a night class. So my life was incredibly focused, and I had to be super disciplined to get my schoolwork done, to show up for all these things, to wake up on time, to make sure I was in the right place at the right time. And when baseball ended, the North Star, the central point in my life, the thing that was the gravity, you know, the thing that held my world together, it was gone. And I was already in a band and I was already making music. And after a little while of just kind of, you know, pouting and being brokenhearted, I was like, oh, I'm a musician. I joined a songwriting circle at NYU, and I met a bunch of great songwriters there who were more advanced than me. Some of them were a few years older, and they were like, oh, you're a songwriter. Like you can do this for real. And I was able to kind of point the self-discipline from sports into art. I knew I wanted to write songs, and I wanted to get better at writing songs. So I started learning lots of songs, and I started learning more about harmony and counterpoint, music theory, and like getting better at my playing and practicing my singing, and just in general thinking about what are the elements of this that I can improve so that I can access things that I cannot currently create. Like how do I take my heroes and make them into my peers? And I saw that it was a long journey. I said, well, we better get to it. And that's really how I ended up being here now. And so, yeah, I think like having been an athlete definitely played a big part in my ability to pursue this as a career, because it's hard. And there's lots of times where you're like, fuck this. Mm-hmm. Why am I still doing this? Like, why am I here? You know, if you know, these people in the industry, they don't care, the, you know, press shits on you and says the record is, you know, not good or whatever. Like there's been so many points in my career where, you know, you have a negative experience and you're like, why do I do this with my energy? But it's like, I always keep this at the top of mind. I love to make music, and it is inside of me to do it. And if I felt like I could put it down, I probably would have put it down a million times over the years, because there's so many of those moments where you're like, I can't believe I got to deal with this nonsense. You know, there's just like, and it never stops. Like I've been doing this for a long time, and there are lots of parts of my thing that are pretty dialed in. But every once in a while, you know, you get somewhere and you're like, oh no, like today I have to deal with this ridiculous thing. Or, you know, like I said before, it's like you're on tour. You're like, what do you mean the promoter didn't promote this show? Did they not tell anybody that like this one was going to be really bad? Nobody thought to bring this up to me before this moment, that like, oh, by the way, this one is going to be a bummer, you know, stuff like that where you're like, ugh, but it's my job. And so I love to make art. And it means a lot to me. And I love to get on stage and I love to perform. And that means a lot to me. And so I am willing to put up with like a pretty intense amount of bullshit. And that's, you know, the self-discipline. It's like you're doing things that are hard and that you don't want to do all the time because you don't care if they're hard. You're trying to get somewhere. And for me, it's like I want to get to keep making records until I drop dead.
It's like there's that famous phrase is that a person who, I think it's Nietzsche, a man with,
this guy reads books, look at his glasses.
A man who has why, a man who knows why can endure anyhow. Or, you know, it's just like there's a reason why you're doing this thing, you will put up with a lot of it. So there's a resilient component to this game. And yet I notice that the art that most moves me, whether it's a song, a voice, a book, a movie. I just watched this amazing movie last night, Jay Kelly, Noah Baumbach's new film.
He's such a killer.
I recommend it. It's the best one. But there's something in it that is so vulnerable in all of the art that moves me the most has this like this. It feels like the person who made the work of art is going at the thing inside them that scares them the most. And my question to you, is there a song or a time in your life or a record where you felt like you, more than other times, went at something that was at the center of what scares you? And then my other question is, what is that scares you, if you care to elaborate?
So my parents were 19 when I was born. My mom had turned 19 like 3 weeks before I was born. They were freshmen in college. They just finished their freshman year. And so when I was a little kid, in the beginning, we lived at my grandparents' house. And I had an incredibly close relationship with my grandparents, always. And they were also fairly young parents. So my grandma was only 39 when I was born, and my grandpa was 45. Yeah. And so
that is awesome.
It was the best thing, one of the best things in my life. And so I was unbelievably close with my grandparents, and they were in good health. And I was in my 30s. I was married. I was a father. I owned a house. Like, so all this grown up stuff that I did, I got to do and talk to my grandparents about. Like, my grandpa really was like my best friend. I would call him on the phone and be like, I got this problem. You know, he'd owned a house for 1,000,000 years. He had, whatever. He'd been married for a long time. So he could give me advice on any number of things. And my grandmother as well. We just shared a lot. And so in the summer of 2021, on a Tuesday morning in July, my grandfather passed away. And I think, it's a crazy thing, but he passed away suddenly, and I went to Florida and we buried my grandfather, and my birthday was that week. And so my grandma insisted that we get a cake and everybody sing happy birthday to me. And I had spent so many of my birthdays at her dining room table with her, making a big deal out of it, because in the summertime we would often visit her and my grandpa. And so she insisted that we get a birthday cake. It was my 38th birthday too. It wasn't like a landmark birthday, but she insisted. And so that was maybe on Friday, and then on Wednesday she passed away. And so was there any indication, or was she sick? Or? Her heart just said, not one more day. They lived 60 years together. They dated for a while, then they got married. They were married for 60 years, and she made it 1 week. Like, he died on a Tuesday. She went to bed on Tuesday night. She did not wake up Wednesday. She didn't make it more than 1 week without
Chills.
Him. It was, even in this incredibly devastating time in my life, this is the most traumatic moment of my adult life without question. Even in that moment, I was like, this is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. These two people loved each other with such profound energy that her body turned off when he died. Like, she wasn't sick. She was 77 years old. She wasn't super old. She just couldn't, and her body shut off. And it was really, really devastating. And I didn't really know how to move through the world. Like, I talked to them every day. I talked to them about every problem that I had ever had in my entire life up through that point. And so I was really adrift and devastated. And when we were on the road in 2023, I was off, and I was in England, and I was sitting in my room one night, and I had not written a single word about the loss of my grandparents. And I started writing about my grandmother's Cadillac. My grandmother had a 1986 Cadillac sedan DeVille, like beautiful, like pearl white with red leather interior.
Big car.
Oh, slick. So slick. The coolest car. And so she got an 86. And when it was getting close to me getting my license, like I was still a few years away. I was maybe like 13. She was like, I'm going to get a new car, and I want you to have the Caddy. And I was like, you want to give me a Cadillac? What are you, Elvis Presley? And she was like, yeah, I want you to have it. I was like, I don't know. It's very big. It feels dangerous for my first car to be like a fishing boat. It's so big. And I was so moved by the gesture, but I was like, I really appreciate it, but I don't think that you should give me the Cadillac. I think you should sell it and, go get your new car. And it'll be dangerous for me to drive this Caddy when I'm 16. And so the Caddy is such a big part of my childhood memories of my grandma, because she got it when I was 3 years old. And so I remember riding in the back seat with my cousins, like all of us on a bench seat, like banging around against the doors, and she would turn the corners and just laughing and being silly. And her taking us to the store or to the children's museum or the movies when we'd go visit in the summertime. And so the Caddy is a big part of my grandmother in my head. Like when I think of her, she's driving that Caddy, even though she didn't have it for a long time, at the end of her journey. And so I started writing. I was in England, and it had been about 2 years since she had passed away. And I started writing about the Cadillac. And I was crying. I was like, I can't write a song about this. Like, how am I going to write a song about my grandmother? Like, what am I going to say? And I wrote this song, and it's called Clonopin Zombies. And it's about how my family went through this crazy, traumatic thing. And I remember sitting there like on the sidewalk. I didn't have shoes on. I was like outside in Florida. She had just died, and I didn't know that she had died yet, but we'd taken her to the hospital. It was like, it seemed like she might have died. And I was like, I'm sitting outside of a hospital. I don't have shoes on. I was like, could somebody give me a Valium? Does anybody have one? I'm like yelling to my relatives, like, could someone like drop a Valium in my mouth? Like, that's the state I was in. I was like sitting outside of a hospital with no shoes on, asking someone to drug me because I was just a mess. And nobody did. And I ended up, going through this process. And with the exception of, having maybe a few too many drinks with my cousins as part of this journey, I never was like medicated or anything like that through this process. But a lot of other people that came to us, because my grandpa had just died and then my grandma died a week later, it was so traumatic and so uncomfortable for all these people that we had people walk into the chapel at my grandmother's funeral just zonked out of their mind on drugs, like medication, very clearly, like where they're like dead-eyed when they walked in. And we were all like, this is nuts. Like, aren't we the ones that are supposed to be devastated? And there's all these like, whatever strangers and peripheral people in their lives walking in, and they're out of their minds, like zonked out on pills because they don't want to deal with the weight of this. And my cousins and I, you get a funeral with your cousins, like if you don't laugh, like what are you doing? And so in my family, we realized first we laughed at that because we were like, oh my God, look at all these people. Like, what's going on? Well, they're all on drugs. And we're all like, are they giving out drugs? Like, nobody gave us any. And then we realized one of us said, I'm so hungry. And it's because the music that was playing, we used to go to all these Italian American restaurants because my family's Italian American. So we, go to these red sauce joints all the time. And so all the music that was playing at the funeral was like a playlist my grandma had made the week before for my grandpa's funeral. And it's like Sinatra and Dean Martin and all this stuff, whatever, The Wanderer, stuff like that like they play in these Italian restaurants. So the music, we were all listening to it. We were all like, this makes me hungry because it sounds like the restaurants we go to. And so we all were laughing at these ridiculous, it's such a horrible thing, but we were making each other laugh in that moment. So I didn't know how in the world I would turn, that's such a long story. I don't know. I didn't know how I would turn any of this into a song because it's so difficult. It's so difficult. And
how do you put it into words?
Yeah. And it's like, a lot of times I'll have to move through a thing. Like if I was in a breakup, I would be out of the breakup. I would be over it, or I would be coming out of it. And then I would write a song about it, or I was sometimes falling in love. I'd sketch out little ideas, and then I'd need a little breath from that idea before I could really, sit down and write a song about it. Cause it's overwhelming when, you have powerful emotions. And so after 2 years, I still didn't feel ready. I was still so devastated. The grief was so palpable. It was powerful. It was like I had a wet towel over my head. It just felt like gross. It was horrible. But I sat there in this bed in England, and I started writing about the Cadillac. And I thought it was an Eldorado. I thought my grandma's caddy was an Eldorado. And so I was writing about an Eldorado, and then I texted my uncle and I was like, was grandma's caddy an Eldorado? And he was in Florida. He was like, no, it was an 86 sedan DeVille. And I was like, oh yeah. And so just thinking about the car and the journey and the family, I started sketching out different things. Like my uncle reminded me the Cadillac was actually an 86 sedan DeVille. I wrote that down, and that went in the song just like that. My uncle reminded me, and all those words. And that was the most difficult thing I've ever done. My grandmother was an epic woman. She was very sparkly. I was on the Opry this year for the first time, and we joked that like my grandmother would have come in a cape. She was just like very fabulous and very, very sparkly, very sparkly. And so I wanted to write something really epic. So it's this like 5-minute rock song about my grandmother. It's a kind of a big to do. So that was the hardest thing that I have ever written a song about. It was the most emotionally devastating thing that has happened to me as an adult. And it also felt like a thing that you don't write songs about, because there aren't songs about that. And I felt ridiculous doing it on some level, but my grandmother was such a big fan of my music too. And so it felt important to me to eventually get to it and find my way there. It just took me a long time, like emotionally, to be able to get down there. And then my friend Paul Hammer, we were on tour together, and he was staying in the other room in this Airbnb that we were in on our little day off. And I was like, Paul, will you come in the kitchen? Let me play you this song. So Paul had to listen to me play this like 5-minute long song while crying. It's like one of this, like, this is the toll for being my friend. I'm sorry. You're welcome.
Yeah. One more question for you, sir, is that there is a before and after in every artist's life, and maybe many before and afters, but one important one. And, I know this one personally, so I'm keen. I have a special interest in your answer, is the before and after of having a child. And is there anything that's changed? It can be like how you've had to approach playing music or doing the business of music, or just like a worldview that's shifted since having your daughter. I know this has been 7 years now, so you've had some time to mull it over. So I expect a good answer.
Fuck, don't set me up like that. Oh, man. Gosh. Can I hear like 5 other people's answers to this kind of question? No. Okay.
I've never asked you before.
Oh, you never asked anyone this before?
No.
Okay, cool.
No.
Well, then just...
I'm winging it here, man.
Okay, cool. Love it. So everything in my life pretty much has changed because we brought a child into our home, and we were so intentional about having a kid. We really, really wanted one. We really wanted one. We'd been married for a number of years. Like, we had been married 4 years or 3.5 years when my wife, found out she was pregnant, and we had been dating for many years before that. And, we checked a lot of the boxes there. Like, we fell in love. We had a strong relationship that we worked on for a long time. We got married. We bought a home. We were in the midst of our careers and all that. And it's like, even with all of that and with great intentions, and we read a lot of books and we asked people lots of questions, it was still so hard. You bring a baby into, like, of course it's hard. Like, you can't learn how to do that in a book. You can learn some stuff. I learned tricks from books, but you don't know until a baby is screaming in your face in the middle of the night and throwing up, like how you're going to react to that. That's a whole other thing. So really everything has changed for me. Like, I wake up early. Like, I wake up in the morning. Like, today I got up at 6:20 in the morning. She came in my room, got in my bed, snuggled with me. My wife was out at like a workout class. She came in, my daughter got in, and the dog came over and was whining. We got out of bed and let the dog outside, and then I made her breakfast, and then we walked to school. So from 6:20 in the morning until 8 a.m., I was locked in on, kids stuff, making breakfast, getting ready for school, talking about, we got to do the advent calendar today because it's, Christmas time. We're doing that, and we're making plans, and getting ready to go to school, and where are my earmuffs? We find the earmuffs, and they've been lost for days, and it turns out they were where she left them, and things like that. It's like, so I put a bunch of my energy into that in the first, 90 minutes, 100 minutes of my day, walked her to school, walked home, and then it's 8 a.m. You needed to start getting ready to come here a few hours later. So I had a meeting. I did, did a handful of things, and I had to like squeeze all that stuff in. And now I know I can't be here beyond a certain point because I have to get to my kid. And they don't let kids out of school at like a time that's reasonable for adults who have jobs. Like, this is
what is it, 2:30 or is it 3?
It's like 2:45 or 3 depending on what grade they're in here. And so in elementary
basically
school,
the middle of the afternoon.
yeah, exactly, it's the middle of the afternoon. And so you have to like really be thoughtful about how you use your time during the day, because you only get so many hours. Like, I get home from dropping her off at school at 8 a.m. and then it's like 7 hours later that we have to get her. And so we are more focused than ever. And we also are more intentional with stopping. Like, it gets to a certain point in the day. If I'm not interacting with my daughter, what's she doing? She's by herself. Like, and that's not fair to her. So we try our best to manage our time such that when she gets out of school, we can hang out with her. We can do stuff with her. And that's obviously really different because we used to just work all the time. Mm-hmm. We'd wake up and we'd work late at night. We'd work, at nights and weekends and whatever. And now I try not to work at night when I'm home. When I'm not on the road, I'm home. I'm there to put her to bed. I'm there when she wakes up in the morning. And I try to, like, I'll have rehearsals during the week, during the day now. So like, you can't be in my touring band if you can't come to daytime during the week rehearsals, because I can't do it any other time. Like, I can't have rehearsals at night because I've got a kid. I need to be there. And with the road, I just say no to almost everything. Like, I really only choose to do things that we see obvious value in. It's like, do I need to do this to grow my career in some way? Do I need to do it to make money? Or in an ideal world, it's like some combination of those two. And otherwise, we don't take it because I want to be at home. And even 3 weeks, like, you miss a lot. You go away for 3 weeks.
Oh, dude.
I went to Europe for like 6 weeks, I guess, or so, a few years ago, to write and do some producing and then to go on the road. It was horrible. Like, it was very cool to get to do the job. Like, the work part was wonderful,
but
the
price is high.
To be away, like right now she's 7. She's only going to be 7 and in the first grade for so many days. And so every one of those days I miss it's a very high cost for me. And so I'm very conscious of that. So I really value my time at home. And it's very important to me that she knows that I'm her audience. She's not my audience. Like, I'm watching her. She wants to dance. She wants to sing. She wants to draw a picture. Like, I think in entertainment, we're used to saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, look. We're all standing in front of a microphone begging people to look at us. And it's cool. It's like, it's my job. And I also love to do it. But with my kid, I'm dad. I'm not the guy that sings the songs, and she understands that it's my job, and she comes and sometimes she'll sing with me on stage and it's really fun. But I think she knows, like, I'm watching her. Like, when we were at the Opry, when I got on stage to perform, when you only play 2 songs, at some point she was standing with my wife just before I sang the first song. So she's been out there for 90 seconds standing side stage. She was like, can we go back to the green room? And my wife was like, this is going to take 6 minutes. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But, she's a kid, and she's like, I don't know, I kind of want to go draw. And I think that that's great. Like, I want her to feel that way, where all the things that I do, like, sometimes they create really neat opportunities. She gets to go cool places and interact with really fabulous, creative people. Like, I think the first time she ever saw a fiddle in person was Janae Fleenor. We were backstage at the Opry, not the Opry, the Country Music Hall of Fame. And my friend Seth Taylor was doing an event. And so she got to see like a premier fiddle player who's played on 100 hit records and, probably 1,000 albums and has, been a Nashville cat forever. She got to see this incredibly accomplished woman. And that's maybe the first time she ever saw a fiddle in person. Like, that's neat. That's a neat part of her life. She shows up places and, she's backstage and musicians know her because she's my kid, and she gets to see great people make art. And I think that's really cool, but I care more about her being a little kid than anything else. And so I just kind of had to turn down the dial on my own bullshit.
Yeah.
A lot.
No, she'll turn it down for you.
Yeah. Springsteen talked about this in his book. Like his wife said, you know, he was like staying up late and writing and doing stuff at night and waking up late. And so she was like, you're missing it with the kids. Like if you're not here, like in the morning, if you're not there when they like eat their waffles and stuff, like this is cool. Like you're going to be bummed if you miss this. And luckily I read that before I had a kid. I was like, we got to get up early. We got to get up real early.
Two things come to mind. One is I follow Dawes on Substack, the band, Taylor Goldsmith. And he just last month or something, he relayed a hilarious story on this note, which was that they had like a 2-night stand at a big venue, Hollywood. It's not Hollywood Bowl, but you know that size and stature. Kind of they've played everywhere, but this was like he was excited about it, right? And brought the family up. They're on side stage and goes out, plays the 45-minute set. And he comes back and he's just pumped. He goes hi, and it's the little boy, he gives him a hug. And dad, he was like, did you like that? And he's like, yeah. But you don't have to do it again tomorrow, right? We don't have to. Like that was good. He was just so shocked because he was like, oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit about the crowd and the stage and the adulation. He's just like he just wants to hang out. You know? And that's I recognize that early on. When you said the thing about the working and having to adjust that work schedule, that is the thing that's been hardest for me because my wife is also just like a workaholic. I love working. I would work all the time if people let me, and they used to especially when I was single, and then even I married the right person, and she liked to do it too, and so we just stay up late. I've always gotten up really early, and now it is like a 7-hour workday, and I just have to be like, okay, that's cool. But the trade-off is it's your kid, and it's so great. I'm like in love with my child. And the other thing is part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast and kind of spun off into these film interests is that like I'm going to be a lifelong creative, and having played like 1,000+ shows and I toured my ass off for 10+ years, I loved it all. But it was two things. One, it wasn't very creative. It was just really logistical, like load in, load out, this far to the next town, and you're just like living in a community bubble. And so now that I have this family, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go on tour until I can take my family. And I'm kind of okay with the consequences of that because I just, like you said, like I can't imagine 3 weeks, away. The price is way too high. Like she changes every other day. It's like a little bit different. And that's so fun to be having a front row seat to.
When my daughter turned 5, we happened to be leaving for a tour such that we couldn't, I had to leave on her or the day before her birthday, whatever it was. We realized we could take her with us. And so she had her own little bunk on the bus, and it had fairy lights in it, and it was the cutest thing, and her little books, and she was reading her books. She was so excited. And so she came.
It's fun for everybody too.
It's so cute. Around. So she came for a handful of days. Like we went to Little Rock. We drove. We had a day off in Little Rock for her actual birthday. So we made a day of it. We went to the Children's Museum, had a fun dinner, and got a birthday cake, and did the whole thing. And then we went to somewhere in Texas, and she came to the first date. But she went to bed before she goes to bed at 7:30 at night. So she missed the show, but she got to spend the day there and hang out with everybody and see everybody's jobs. And it's really neat when they're little. At a certain point, it's like her life is so involved. She's got dance and Girl Scouts and this and that, and all these piano lessons, all the things she does. So it's like you can't take her now. Like I can't take her on the road now. She has stuff to do. So there's like a real sweet window where they're not little tiny babies, but they're big enough that they can have fun. And I think that the sweetest spot, at least in my experience so far. It's like, would I take her out of school? She's in first grade. Yeah. We've negotiated that back and forth, my wife and I. Like, do we think that we could, take her, I have to go away next year for quite some time. We're like, well, could we take her out of school for a few weeks so she could go to, I don't know, like how many kids go to Stockholm? Like, it'd be pretty neat. But on the other hand, it's like, doesn't she want to hang out with her friends and go to ballet? Probably. She probably wants to go to piano lessons. She probably doesn't want to go to Stockholm. Yeah. So, and that's,
honey, you're in Stockholm. She's like, fucking great.
You have ballet class
it's
here.
Cold.
All I want to do is dance with my friends, you nerd.
My man, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been a great conversation, great time. And I really love the music and I love the way that you go about it. You're an inspiring guy.
Wow.
And I love that I have this kind of uplifting spirit about you with regard to the community and other artists, and whether it's mentoring younger people or sharing your own journey. It's just you have great energy, and it's been a pleasure to spend a little time with you today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Let's do it again sometime.
I would love that.
Hey, thanks for watching. Go ahead and click here to like and subscribe. You can click right there to watch another video, or click here to watch a playlist featuring songs of the Morse Code Podcast. Okay, thank you very much.